Siti Nabila Putri, and I would like to analyze about the drama of Macbeth. So we start about the background. Macbeth is a play written around 1606 by William Shakespeare. Shakespeare was writing for the theater during the reigns of Queen Elizabeth I and King James I. The plays he wrote around the time Queen Elizabeth was in control, such as Midsummer Night's Dream, contain themes of confidence, happiness, and love. Macbeth is known as one of Shakespeare's most strong and forceful plays. The play was written in 1606, a time in history that was called the Elizabethan era. The Elizabethan age was an age of discovery and of expansion. Shakespeare's plays were written for the average men or women in the street. In the Shakespearean era, witches were associated with dark and death. They were said by many Christian countries to be agents of Satan and performing evil acts at night. When Shakespeare wrote Macbeth, witchcraft and supernatural happenings were of high interest. King James I was highly engaged with the idea of witchcraft and even wrote a book about the topic. He used them for his plays, and many of his audience would have believed in them as evil servants, trapping the power of men and women. Then we start about the theme. First, ambitious. Macbeth shows excessive ambition and it's working. Macbeth, though not over-ambitious in the beginning, becomes ambitious when he hears prophecies of the witches that he would become the king. The second is there are a supernatural, with the presence of 3 witches and Hecate, making a supernatural presence in the drama. 3 witches play an important role to awaken the ambition of Macbeth to become the king. The witches once predicted that Macbeth will be the king. Keep an eye on the events. They weave a spell through different ingredients and lead to Macbeth's downfall. The third is betrayal and treachery. As soon as Macbeth hears prophecy of his becoming the king from the witches, he starts thinking about ways to get to the position. This instigates treacherous thoughts in him. He plans to kill the king at the instigation of his wife Lady Macbeth, who joins him without feeling any qualm for the king or others. The betrayal in Macbeth lies in the treachery of Macbeth. Duncan is not only his king but also in kinsman and friend. Then, let's start about the characters. First, exactly Macbeth. Macbeth is a Scottish general and the son of Glamis who is led to wicked truths by the prophecies of the 3 witches, especially after their prophecy that he will be mad. Then of the Cawdor comes true. Macbeth is a brave soldier and a powerful man, but he is not a virtuous one. He is easily tempted into murder to fulfill his ambition to the throne, and once he commits his first crime and is crowned King of Scotland, he embarks on further atrocities with increasing ease. In the Act 1, Scene 7, now I'm decided, and I will exert every muscle in my body to commit this crime. Go now and pretend to be friendly hostess. Hide with a false pleasant face what you know in your false evil heart. To Lady Macbeth. The second is Lady Macbeth. Lady Macbeth is Macbeth's wife, a deeply ambitious woman who lusts for power and position. Early in the play, she seems to be a stronger and the more ruthless of the two, as she urged her husband to kill Duncan and seize the crown. In the Act 1, Scene 7, we fail. If you get your courage up, we can fail. When Duncan is asleep, I'll get his two servants so drunk that their memory will go up in smoke through the chimneys of their brain. When they lie asleep like pigs, so drunk they'll be dead to the world. What won't you and I be able to do to the angry Duncan? To her husband Macbeth. And the third is the three witches, three black and midnight hags who plot mischief against Macbeth using charms, spells, and prophecies. Their predictions prompt him to murder Duncan, to order the deaths of Banquo and his son, and to blindly believe in his own immortality. In the Act 1, Scene 2, your descendants will be kings even though you will not be one. Then the fourth is Banquo, the brave noble general whose children, according to the witch's prophecy, will inherit the Scottish throne. Like Macbeth, Banquo thinks ambitious dukes, but he doesn't translate those into action. In the Act 1, Scene 3, if you trust what they say, you might be on your way to becoming king, as well as Thane of Cawdor. But this whole thing is strange. The agents of evil often tell us part of the truth in order to lead us to our destruction. They earn our trust by telling us the truth about little things, but then they betray us when it will damage us the most. Next, setting. First, at that time, the play is set Scotland was a separate country, although its proximity to England led to many struggles over who would rule the area. The most important action when Macbeth wants to murder King of Duncan. It takes place indoors at night, suggesting the setting is not terribly important to the action. The Burnham Wood when Macbeth moves out there and feels safe. Next, plot. Macbeth is a brave soldier and a powerful man, but he's not a virtuous one. He easily tempted into murder to fulfill his ambitions to the throne. He is a general who has blood relation with King Duncan. The victory was won. Macbeth and Banquo were summoned by the kingdom to celebrate this victory. Macbeth and Banquo met three witches who predicted something about them. The prediction initially made Macbeth a little skeptical and didn't expect much. However, when he got home, Lady Macbeth encouraged him to do something very, very risky. Yes, kill the King of Duncan. While all are sleeping and after his wife has given the guards drunk wine, Macbeth kills the king and his guards. Indeed, King Duncan was told to rule. So this was an opportunity for Macbeth to launch his action that night. With the help of ideas from Lady Macbeth, she began to kill King Duncan and continued to follow the advice of the wife and of the witch to kill anyone who would get in the way of becoming a king. Macbeth is elected King of Scotland but is plagued by feelings of guilt and insecurities. He arranged for Banquo and his son Flange to be killed because Banquo wants to be a king, but Flange escaped to murderers. At a celebratory banquet, Macbeth sees the ghost of Banquo and disconcerts the courtiers with his strange manner. Lady Macbeth tries to calm him but is rejected. Macbeth seeks out the witches and learns from them that he will be safe until Birnam Wood comes to his castle, Dunsinane. They tell him that he need fear no one born of woman, but also that the Scottish succession will come from Banquo's son. Macbeth embarks on a reign of terror and many, including Macduff's family, are murdered, while Macduff himself has gone to join Malcolm at the court of the English king, Edward. Malcolm and Macduff decide to lead an army against Macbeth. Macbeth feels safe in his remote castle at Dunsinane until he is told that Birnam Wood is moving towards him. The situation is that Malcolm's army is carrying branches from the forest as camouflage for their assault on the castle. Meanwhile, Lady Macbeth, paralyzed with cold, walks in her sleep and gives away her secret to a listening doctor. She kills herself as the final battle commences. Macduff challenges Macbeth, who, on learning his adversary is the child of a Caesarean birth, realizes he is doomed. Macduff trims and brings the head of the traitor to Malcolm, who declares peace and is crowned king. So, the moral that we can take of the story is that the power of corrupts and we to have control over our own life. This is the end of my analysis. I apologize if there is a word or a mistake. I hope this video can be useful for everyone who watch it. Thank you. Bye.